All right, good evening, folks. Welcome to Monday Night Law here on Kirk's Law Corner. Good to see you all out here tonight. How's the weather out there for everybody? It's trying to warm up here in Idaho, at least staying just a hair above freezing. So things are finally starting to melt off. It's kind of nice. It's still chilly, but oh, they're not working on Rumble. Should have. There we go. Okay. So it is working. Okay. I'm gonna check my check Twitter or X, now known as X. Hmm. Oh no, I guess it does show. There we go. All right. Ah, wet and warm in California, huh? Ram Red Bud, good to see you out there on YouTube. Oh, crazy times, folks. A lot of crazy stuff going on out there, as usual, typical for this time of that we're in. Um, Man, um, the thing is folks, I try to do this as educational and like tonight again, something pre-planned, and we're going to continue on going through Blackstone's Commentaries on the Law of England under absolute rights, and we're at section 138 for the absolute right of personal liberty. These two fundamental rights, the absolute rights, the right of personal security and the right of personal liberty. It is so important to grasp the totality of these two rights as absolute rights, fundamental at the root of all law. And anything made pursuant to law, like a statute, a regulation, a city ordinance, okay? None of that stuff can come in conflict with these rights. Now, once I get kind of through this stuff, and I may get into about form of government and that kind of stuff, but I was actually able to, for those of you that are on Twitter or maybe aware of the declaration to hold the military accountable by Brad Miller out there. I actually talked to him earlier today, so finally made contact there. And again, I've offered to draft the petition for that and to hold military service members from whatever rank or grade responsible for the discharging of military service members. And of course, those of you that have been following me long enough know we have to go to Congress for this, pursuant to Article 4, Section 4. We have to demand an investigation. Okay? So hopefully this pans out. So tentatively speaking, will be that may be coming out. Another thing I figured out today, at least through Jotform, how to actually set up the petition for with a link for people to sign. So, the petition that is up on my website that was originally on change.org for the foreign invasion, I've got it set up now, and I will be putting that out there. I'll have to get with Miles and see if we can't get that going again and redo all, signatures that I did have. Basically, start all over and do this digitally. And then, leave it open for a certain amount of time, and then, bam, let's get this filed into Congress. Get this stuff squared away. Yeah, if you signed it already and when it was on change.org took it down. Less than 48 hours. In fact, it was about 30 some hours, and change.org took it down. I wasn't able to grab any of the signatures from that, so basically starting all over with that. But the petition itself is still on my website, kirkslawcorner.com. So we'll get that. I'll get Miles to get that link uploaded on there. And so that when you go there, bam, there's a link right there. And it'll take you to Jot form, and you'll be able to sign that petition right there. And there we go. So people that have questions, it just depends on essentially what the questions are. I try to have people stay focused on, like what I'm talking about here, Blackstone's Commentaries on the Law of England. If you have questions regarding the subject matter, then I will entertain those specifically. But people wanted to get off topic and go somewhere else off and clear off in left field. It's not conducive to educating on the subject matter jurisdiction. So, I seriously have been tossing and turning again about doing Friday nights and doing the governmental side of stuff, the assembly stuff, and all that kind of stuff. So, just to let people know, I know it's pressing on my heart to teach about that stuff, to educate the people on our true Republican form of government and how this all works and how it's supposed to work and how it's supposed to be. Because we're going to need to learn that. There is no ifs, ands, or buts, folks. We're all going to need to learn what our true Republican form of government looks like, how it functions, who has what powers. Okay? And what I've been pushing people for to do is go over there to the National Assembly call on Thursday nights. Every Thursday night. Same place, same time, 6 p.m. Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, 9 Eastern. Okay? Now, there's somebody who remembers Friday Night Fun Night. Back in the day there, huh? Ram Redbud. I can't remember who. I remember your name. I'm not sure who you are, but and Scott over here in Telegram, I didn't see anything, the Supreme Court ruling on the Texas border thing. Honestly, it's a political argument, not a judicial one. So them trying to use the judicial branch to shut down something that's political in nature, I could give a rat's ass what the judicial branch has to say, even if it was good. And more than likely, that's probably what they said. Well, we don't have any power over that. If you have some information on that, Scott, feel free to share that in there right now, and I'll kind of touch on that a little bit. But the reality is that's the law. Article 4, Section 4, supposed to protect us from foreign invasion. Each individual state has that right and power to begin with, especially the border states. That is their territory. So if their particular state territory is being invaded, well, they have every right to call forth the militia, right down to even the sheriff deputizing inhabitants That's the key word there, inhabitants. And to defend, right? We have that fundamental right, absolute right, right here, Blackstone's Commentaries on the Law of England. The very first absolute right is the right of personal security, the right of self-defense, which is what the New York State Rifle Pistol Association versus Bruin case that the Supreme Court of the United States ruled on went all the way back to Blackstone's Commentaries on the Law of England, citing that right of personal security. That's what brought me to that, and why I decided, all right, finally I need to break down and start reading Blackstone's Commentaries on the Law of England. If the Supreme Court of the United States is citing it as a source of law that supports the Second Amendment, don't you think we ought to be reading it too? I think so, and that's why I've been covering that. And this is essentially part 5, just going over these two absolute rights. And like they said in the New York State Rifle Pistol Association versus Bruin case, that it is an absolute right. It is a right, absolute right, but it's a right that comes from the laws of nature as the right of self-defense. That's where the right to keep and bear arms comes from. Not necessarily from the Second Amendment, like what the Supreme Court said. If you read that case file, they talk about how they didn't want to hear anything from from the government or any third-party interveners there, amicus curiae, any statutes or anything that was made after the Second Amendment was created by the founders, right, when it was written. They specifically said, we're looking for the original intent. At the time the Second Amendment was written, we don't care about anything after that. I was like, whoa, they're getting serious. They don't care about statutes or case law. That was the other one. They could care less about anything. They wanted to get to the root of the right. Where does it come from? That comes from the laws of nature. One of the 6 primitive laws of nature is the right of self-defense, the right of personal security, and it is an absolute right. We need to learn that, and the maximum law behind that is what a man does in his defense is to be considered legal. Should be lawful, but the fact is we have the right to defend ourselves, fundamentally and principally. And anything that says, oh, well, you can't do that, is void for any effect, because yes, we can. You don't have the authority to alter the laws of nature, because they're not created by man, they're created by God. Where does that right come from? What body of law? Evening, Brother Rob. Good to see you. Eager Beaver, holy crap. All right. That's right. It's a republic if you can keep it. Yeah, of course you remember Friday Night Fun Night, don't you, Eager Beaver? You were all part of that. Yep, Friday Night Fun Night. That was with Chris back in the day. Texas to cut down razor wire. Well, I highly doubt they're going to obey that. We'll see. We're going to have one hell of a civil war, aren't we, folks? This internal insurrection. No. They're defending the border. Doesn't matter, because somebody else has been derelict in their duties. But again, if you understand that Article 4, Section 4, and then Luther versus Borden, this is a political argument, not a judicial one. The judicial branch doesn't have subject matter jurisdiction. So, here we go. Let's see. Jacqueline would be, should we call our House representatives? Well, again, that petition that I have out there that's on the website, I get miles to get that link on there. Let's spread this like wildfire, folks. Let's get millions of signatures. And we'll send this off to Congress and we'll instruct Congress to do their job. I mean, it's funny because I see them talking about it and all this stuff, especially like what tech going on in Texas and all that stuff. But it's like blaming it on Biden. No, 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 no. This is a power that properly belongs to Congress, pursuant to Article 4, Section 4. We, the people, have to petition them. We have to instruct them to do their jobs. Doesn't that make any sense, folks? They're the servants. If we're the masters and they're the servants, and we have to instruct them to discharge the duties of their office, wouldn't it behoove us to follow due process of law and do a petition to Congress and instruct them, as it is in my prayer for relief, pursuant to the Constitution itself? I mean, let's pull this sucker up just real quick. Yeah, see, I'll get this right here. To sign the petition, go to change.org. We'll get that with a different link. But in the prayer for relief, what is it? To create a committee and open an investigation to verify claims 1 through 3. That there is a foreign invasion happening. That there is trafficking of men, women, and children. That there's a drug known as fentanyl. It was unlawfully imported into the United States of America without going through any ports of entry. Here's that prayer for relief, right? Wherefore the petitioner and all undersigned demand the following relief and hereby instruct our public servants to discharge the duties as instructed by the people. To declare war pursuant to Article 1, Section 8, Clause 11 for a foreign invasion. To call forth the militia to execute the laws of the Union, suppress insurrections, and repel invasions pursuant to Article 1, Section 8, Clause 15. Notice there's no code there. That's all straight from the Constitution. This is real law. Not statutes, not codes, not regulations. See, folks, I do real law. Law of the land, law of nations, law of nature. There's no law in statute. There's no law in code. There's no law in city ordinance. There you go. There you go. Good one, Sharon over here on Telegram. Common law. See? Common law. Law. Right, says the law. Law of the land. See how that word law is in there? Okay. So this is it. I mean, it's already notarized. The petition itself is done. Been done since October 3rd. So now all I need is the signers. And that's it. See, this is under oath. This is how you do under jurat, is sworn to or affirmed, and subscribed. Sworn means under oath. Subscribed is the signature. And so many people get this mixed up, the word signature and autograph. Signature is sign of nature. Autograph is like something a baseball player does on a baseball. Can I get your autograph? Can I get your autograph? Do we see the difference? You know, basketball player, a football player who autographs a football, autographs a basketball, which rarely you get a basketball, but baseball's a pretty good common one because that can get knocked out of the park. And, you know, if you could catch him on the way back into the locker room and get him to sign it, but that's an autograph. So, nobody has signed it but me. I'm the only one that has signed this petition. All those other signatures that were done through change.org, through this here, they took it down. I don't have any access to it. It's gone. It's just like it's not even there. So the thing is asking the question about how many signers do I need? As many as we can get. But technically speaking, I can do this all by myself. But it would be way more powerful, right? Would it not be more powerful having millions of signatures? I think so. We the people need to come together and bring unity. We need to get on board with things like this and get it signed and get it over to Congress. The people, you know, our public servants need to hear from the people. And that we're coming together in droves, in numbers. And I can tell you right now, once they read the petition, what it's pursuant to, they're going to go, all be darned. Yeah, you're right. It's right there in Article 1. Delegations of power or authority to Congress. Congress is the one that has this power. That's right. And all we're doing is we're instructing them to discharge the duties of their office. It's really simple, folks. They're the employees, we're the employers. And unless we tell them what to do, they can't do it, technically speaking. We have to tell them. All political power is inherent in the people. They need to hear from the people. We, the people, need to... Now, again, remember when I said this before? Once I figured this out, how to do this digital signature stuff and get it out there so everybody can just click on a link and sign it, I'm going to be doing lots of petitions, folks. So get ready. Tell your friends. Get them over here. Get them on my social medias. Pay attention. I figured it out this morning. It's go time, folks. I got lots of ideas for petitions. We ready to take down the corruption? Been the hardest part is trying to figure out how to get multiple signatures on a petition. I think we got it, folks. Let me look at some comments here. Yeah, right? Since when does the Supreme Court jesters make law? They don't. Davy Crockett is turning over in his grave. Oh, I know, right? Yeah. Well, I get this too. Is that you can let people know what they can do to help. Well, get educated, folks. Follow along, share with your friends, your family, your neighbors. Share what I'm teaching. Knowledge is power, folks. We don't have this knowledge, we have no power. And then again, once we get the power, we have to learn how to wield that power following due process of law. We're not above the law. If anything, we're the ones that really have to follow due process of law. They're all supposed to follow it, but in order to remain in honor, those without sin may cast the first stone. We got to make sure our ducks are in a row, that we're following due process of law. Okay? That's the key. No. On this petition, I can do digital signatures, so it's fine. I think it'll work just fine. Although it'll be a test run to see how that works through Jotform, but I'll get that link out there. I'll get that link over to Miles and have Miles edit the website and add that link to sign that petition. Okay? I just couldn't figure it out before. I went through what was the other one? There was one that I tried to go through. I just couldn't figure it out. I didn't want to pay all that money to try and figure it out and then have it not work. And so I decided to go on to Jotform again, because I've already been on there once before. I already set up a profile, and I already had the previous petition on there and was trying to figure it out. Well, got to click on some other tabs. So I figured it out today. So it's gonna be good, folks. And like I said before, I figured this out, how to do this. I'm gonna be drafting all sorts of petitions now. Now here's the other thing. When it comes to like other petitions and stuff, say if I do a petition about how they're making unlawful arrests and throwing us in jail, you're going to need to have your court of record. You're going to need to have your documentation. You're going to need to have an affidavit in support. Okay? So you have standing. And, yeah. This is going to, right? This is huge. This is going to get big, folks. We really need to do this. And now that I believe I figured this out, there ain't no stopping what's coming. We, the people, are coming. And I could care less if we're supposedly government de jure or government de facto. The fact is this is our right. And those people that are in there, that are acting, they're getting paid, they're going to discharge the duties of that office as we instruct them. The key is we have to instruct them. We have to follow due process of law. Which is something that nobody else is doing. So, what have I said before? Leaders lead by example. Right? Oh, this This is going to be good what I go to Congress for on what my current case is right now, which is basically come to an end. February 2nd will be the sentencing hearing, so we'll see what happens after that, and they're done, completely done committing all of their crimes. Once that's done, it's on. All right. All right. So let's get into our good old Commentaries on the Law by Blackstone of England. Now we left off there at section 138, which is, I thought I already had that pulled up. Maybe it's under my eye. There we go. Where is it? I thought I saw it right here. Yep, 138, right there. And just to kind of go back a little bit and refresh our mind about what's going on here, this was leaving off right there about the writ of habeas corpus and how this is supposed to be done right here. Back to the Magna Carta, right? To this purpose, the Great Charter declares that no free man shall be banished unless by the judgment of his peers or by the, what? Law of the land. Not by statute. So, again, folks, when we're looking for due process of law, which again, law of the land is synonymous with due process of law. So just like this petition thing, Article 4, Section 4, law of the land or supreme law of the land, dictates this goes to the legislative branch, federal Congress, because that's a power that belongs to Congress, or pursuant to Article 1, Section 8. That's pursuant to the law of the land. I could care less about any, even if it was a legitimate statute. I could care less. That's not law. That second Magna Carta and stable bulwark of our liberties, which was actually 1225, was the second revision, and 1229 was the third revision of the 1215 Magna Carta. Right? Yep. Yep, we need to do something. Good question. If Congress doesn't know the law, how can they carry it out? That's why I cited it. That's why it's cited in the prayer for relief. Exactly, verbatim from the Constitution. What their duties are to perform. That's how. That's how they're going to perform their duties as we instruct them, because I'm citing the supreme law of the land, the power that was delegated to Congress pursuant to the supreme law of the land. That's how they're going to know when it's in the prayer for relief. Because that's how petitions work. You have to cite the law that gives them the authority to do what you're demanding that they do. See, none of this has to do with any statutes. That petition is nothing but from the supreme law of the land. Kind of hard to ignore facts of letter of the law, what it says as it is written. Period. All right. Well, there's a question out here from Stephen on Telegram. Why I'm against David Jose's teachings? I didn't ever say I was against it. And I can tell you right now, David Jose is the one that was following us. And he's trying to mimic what we've been teaching. Notices, I could give a rat's ass about them notices. They're not in proper forms and they're not going to the right people. Again, follow due process of law as the letter of the law dictates. See, that's the difference. And that would be the reason why I don't want to be involved in any of that. And it's weird because a while back, I thought we were going to work together there when I was doing all that, the common law group there and all that stuff. And we got into a meeting one day and then all of a sudden everything just kind of blew up and I'm just like, okay. So there's the problem. Because he doesn't know what he's actually doing. He's got a good heart, I'll admit that. And when he does his research on code, right? And that's the difference. See, I do law and he does code. Do you see the difference? And I follow what the supreme law of the land says as it is written, like on application of the legislature, to petition the legislature for the redress of grievances. Like election petitions, they're supposed to go to the legislature. Has to be in a proper form. It's right out of this book right here, sitting right next to me right now. Lex Parliamentary Americana. You know, elements of the law and practice of the legislative assemblies of the United States of America. It's on my website. Highly recommend people download that and start reading it. Because regarding the subject matter of elections, they're the only ones that have the authority over the elections. Not the executive and not the judicial. See, lack of subject matter jurisdiction, which is exactly what the judicial branch in Utah, all the way from the district court, the appellate court, the Supreme Court, all the way to the Supreme Court of the United States, told the Brunson brothers, we don't have subject matter jurisdiction. Imagine that. Lack of knowledge, folks. That's the problem. It's going to be up to us, folks. And when we get enough people coming together and following due process of law, and like what our founders wrote there, even in the Declaration of Independence, we have petitioned, remonstrated, only to be met with repeated injuries. Only then, see, we got to do the First Amendment first, which is the right of petition, to petition the government for the redress of grievances, before we can go to the Second Amendment and bear arms. That'll be coming. I'm going to blow up the Second Amendment. You watch. Right, Mark? Brother Mark, good to see you. Same thing, you know, it said it right in the Brunson's paperwork. Lack of standing and lack of subject matter jurisdiction. They were told 6 times. Five times. 5 times. In a row. No subject matter jurisdiction over elections. I don't know, folks. I don't know what it's going to take for us to learn how that right works, the right of petition. But I'm trying. Chris and I both have been trying to teach everybody since 2017. But that's okay. We'll get there. Even, like I said, even at this point where leaders lead by example, I'll start drafting the petitions. If you want, if you got a court case or anything that goes along with the subject matter jurisdiction of my petition, you're going to need to get your ducks in a row. You're going to need to get your paperwork together. You're going to need to do an affidavit in support of the petition, because affidavits by themselves, technically speaking, do not stand alone. They're usually in support of something. So, exactly what you just put there, Leslie. Municipalities are taxing private property with no legislative authority. How do you petition that? That's your statement of fact. Right there. It's exactly the way you would say it. That's the statement of fact. It's the crazy part about all this, folks, is it's really super simple. It's so simple. It just goes right over our heads, because it's like, well, we think it's much more complicated than that, and the reality is it's not. That's the statement of fact right there. Just as you wrote it. We're like this close to doing all this stuff, but I think a lot of people feel so overwhelmed and lack of knowledge is that we think this is so complicated, and that's what they want us to believe. Oh, you need to contact an attorney for that. No, because the reason why they want you to contact a member of the bar is so they can play their barcode game. They don't want to actually follow remedy, which is due process of law, to get the relief that you actually seek. They want to continue control. But I think that time is about to end. And it's going to become more exponential as we get into this and start learning. Right? Right? They are. These members of the bar are crooks in nice suits. Absolutely. Right, Leslie? Right? Barcode. You know. Well. Let me see. Let me see if this will work. You know, we talk about barcodes here. There's a barcode on the back of this book here, right? You know, that's Lex Parliamentaria Americana right here. There's a barcode. So when you scan that, there's kind of a information there, right? And which I've covered this before in in Bouvet's Law Dictionary 1856, law, civil, that the code is the Roman civil law. And it's opposed, pay attention, it is opposed to the law of nations, laws of nature, and the common law. And it's all enforced through bills of pains and penalties. I swear that's a prohibition in Article 1, Section 10, or Article 1, Section 9, Federal, Article 1, Section 10, no bills of attainder. And you go look up bills of attainder in Bouvet's Law Dictionary 1856, and what does it say? Legislation, punishment, period. Woo. Can't get any more clear and concise than that. Any legislation that prescribes punishment is a bill of attainder, bill of pains and penalties. And those are prohibited because of the Roman civil law. Because that's what was happening again in history. Go back to the English Bill of Rights of 1689, promising an award prior to any conviction. What do you think that does? Oh, if you do this, see that legislation, and here's the punishment, here's a fine or jail time. Pains and penalties. Pains, jail time. Penalties, fines. And then here's the ultimate question. Where does that fine go? Does it go to the injured party that you caused actual damages to? Oh, well, they don't. No, these are all victimless crimes, and this is all prosecution by information, which is what the Fifth Amendment prohibits. It's got to be done by a grand jury indictment. Oh, that would be that trial by jury, starting with a grand jury, and ends with a petite jury of 12 men, without whose unanimous consent cannot be found guilty. That's a full trial by jury. And remember, or this might be new to you, but in this trial by jury, the jury is supposed to be able to judge the law and the facts. This is one of the benefits of trial by jury that's in the Declaration of Independence, depriving us of the benefits of trial by jury, that as the jury judging the law has the power to exercise that right of all political power to alter, reform, or abolish anything at any time we deem it necessary. This is how the people provided oversight of what the legislature created, or what a city ordinance was that was being imposed in that particular case. Let's say that I'm the defendant there. I would argue to the jury that the legislature usurped its powers, lack a personal jurisdiction over man, lack a subject matter jurisdiction because it's nowhere in the Constitution that we delegated that subject to them, yet here is this legislation, and I'm asking you to abolish it. And burden of proof's now on me, and then the other side would go, well, no, right here in the Constitution. Oh, well, no, it doesn't. So they lose. And that's how we maintained our republic, if we can keep it. But see, they stripped us of that power. They took away our common law courts. So, that's the key to all this, folks. Of the part about reassembling government de jure is taking back our power and reassembling the common law side of our republic, where the people have all the power. And we prosecute public servants under a suit at common law. How many of you knew that? See, where's our common law courts? You know, that are not courts of the United States? See the Seventh Amendment. Cannot be otherwise re-examined in any courts of the United States. Boy, that means that our common law courts are not courts of the United States. Whose courts are they? They're the people's courts. That's right. So, in part, that's what needs to be reassembled. This is all the common law side of our republic that supposed to come before the Constitution. All of this stuff is supposed to have been created before we even create the Constitution, which creates the legislative branch, the executive branch, and the judicial branch. This law, body of law, jurisdiction, pre-exists the Constitution. Imagine that. Because the Constitution is the instrument of government. Well, who creates the Constitution? We, the people. So you have to have we, the people, properly, lawfully assembled in order to create the Constitution. Does that make sense, folks? Again, it's the engine block. In order to build an engine, you have to have the block. If you don't have the block, what are you going to put the pistons in? What are you going to put the crankshaft in? What are you going to put the heads on? Hmm. Excuse me. Spam alert. Oh, yeah. Sure enough. Scumbag scammer. Yeah, people on Telegram right now, take a look at that. It's in the comment section. So there's your first clue. Number two, you know I'm sitting here live. How in the hell would I type that? Not only that, why would I put that in the comment section on my own live? Why wouldn't I post it on the main? Because they're scumbag scammers, folks. Bye-bye. All right, let's get back to Blackstone's Commentaries on the Law of England here. Good, we got a good solid hour here. That the Magna Carta and stable bulwark of our liberties, because again, the Magna Carta is the Great Charter of Liberty. It is enacted that no subject of this realm who is an inhabitant of England. Why are they using the word inhabitant there? Because that's proper diction. I wonder why they didn't use national there. Shall be sent prisoner, any of that, shall be sent prisoner into Scotland, Ireland, Jersey, or places beyond the seas where they cannot have the full benefit and protection of what? The common law. Huh. Why would they use common law there? What do you mean? Statute law or common law? But see, it's not statute law, it's just statute. Some people have added law onto the end of statute law to give it that effect that it's law. No, statute is just statute, period. And that's policy, spelt with an E or a Y. But originally in Old English, policy is Police. I'm sure that's a shocker to a lot of people out there. But hey, read the Second Amendment. A well-regulated militia being necessary for the security of a free state. Not a well-regulated policy officer. Militia. Military. That's the regulated militia. State and federal. The unorganized by the state or federal, is composed of the body of the people themselves to begin with. That's the whole militia. Of the people, by the people, for the people. Thank you very much. I didn't write it, sure in the heck, not that I'm aware of, that I wasn't around when that was written. Trust me. As far as I believe, I mean, who knows, past life somehow. Maybe I could have been around in, 1776 era. Just, my memory doesn't go back that far right now. But that all such imprisonments shall be illegal. That's right. That the person who shall dare to commit another contrary to this law shall be disabled from bearing any office, shall incur the penalty of a premunire, and be incapable of receiving the king's pardon. That's right, because this is that treason type stuff. And the party suffering shall also have his private action against the person committing. Ooh. So that's the public action and a private action. And all his aiders, advisors, and abettors. We ready for this, folks? And shall recover treble costs. besides his damages. Those are that like a punitive damage, which no jury shall assess at less than £500. Wait. The jury assesses that? You mean there's not a prerequisite stated fine? That's right. See, all this is supposed to be done by the jury. They're the ones that's supposed to decide what the treble costs are. Those punitive damages. On top of actual damages. But here it is in writing that it's the jury that assesses the treble costs and damages. Okay. Well, really, technically speaking, the treble cost is the cost of litigating the cause of action. So just to re-clarify that, whatever it cost you, your time. I mean, these members of the bar out there are, $200 to $500, $600, $700, $800 an hour. If we're doing the same kind of work, why isn't it worth what's the value there? Just because you change the man, still the same job, right? That's right. All right. The law in this respect is so benignly and liberally construed for the benefit of the subject that though within the realm the king may command the attendance and service of all his laymen, yet he cannot send any man out of the realm. See, man, not person, man out of the realm, even upon the public service, excepting sailors and soldiers. Well, yeah, because they're bound to do that. The nature of whose employment necessarily implies an exception. Right. Because they're employed as a sailor, military service. It's, does that make sense, folks? I hope so. That what we're actually talking about here is that not even the king can send any man out of the realm. All right. Let's see, that's the exception of the rule, right? There's those that are bound in service. The nature of whose employment necessarily implies an exception. He cannot even constitute a man, lord, deputy, or lieutenant of Ireland against his will, nor make him a foreign ambassador. So, at the time here, the king doesn't have that authority. Even the king didn't have that authority. For this might, in reality, be no more than an honorable exile. Okay, so technically speaking, that is actually the end of the absolute right of personal liberty. Now, just to recap, let's go back up and read the very beginning part of about personal liberty. It would be number 2. I thought it was 130. 132. There. No. Should be right here. There it is. So here, you got Roman numeral 2 here. Next to personal security, the law of England asserts and preserves the personal liberty of individuals. This personal liberty consists in the power of locomotion, of changing situation or moving one's person to whatsoever place one's own inclination may direct without imprisonment or restraint, unless by due course of law. Due course of law, due process of law, or law of the land. Okay? This is that absolute right. Concerning which we may make the same observations as upon the preceding article, which is personal security, that it is a right strictly natural. So this is a natural right from the laws of nature. That the laws of England have never abridged it without sufficient cause. And that in this kingdom it cannot ever be abridged at the mere discretion of the magistrate without the explicit permission of the laws. Now, that's the key. Why is it the magistrate? Because the executive is supposed to take you before the magistrate. But see, what's happened again in time is they've basically merged the legislative and executive. And when we have these interagencies, they're making their own internal policies. And then they're executing them. Well, my policy says, well, who made that policy? Well, we did. Oh. What? I thought the legislature is the one that has the power to make statutes, policy. What are you guys doing, the executive branch? Why are you making your own internal policies? You're the executive branch. You're supposed to be executing the laws of your creation and supporting the supreme law of the land and the law of the land. Our rights and defending our rights. Right? Again, the language of the Great Charter is that no free man shall be taken or imprisoned, but by the lawful judgment of his equals, or by the law of the land. So there you have it, folks. If it was a limitation on the king back then and government back then, it most certainly must be, and it shall be, a limitation on government today in 2024. So who's ready for this petition to go to Congress? About that domestic violence, erecting a multitude of new offices, sending hither swarms of officers to harass our people and eat out our substance, enforcing bills of attainder, bills of pains and penalties. Anything like that? Does that sound about the same? I'm with you, Karen. So many violations. A royal feast for gators and braided strands of hemp. I love it. It's good stuff. Folks, we really have to learn this stuff and literally know this stuff and then start citing it. Real law. That's, again, part of my mission statement for Kirk's Law Corner. What are our rights? Where do they come from? And how to effectively claim, exercise, and defend them following due process of law. So hopefully we're a little bit more enlightened, and I'm not going to try to jump into the third absolute right. Which let's just do it. Let's do a sneak. Let's do a sneak preview. Because again, I'm continuing on with this Blackstone stuff. We've covered the first two absolute rights. And again, these all come from the law of nature. These are natural God-given rights. So they can never be abridged. But see, if we don't know them, how do you know if they're being abridged? And then we get into this problem that we're really facing is that everybody's been taught wrong. All of our legislators, the governor, all of the governors, all of the sheriffs, even the members of the bar, they've all been taught wrong. You cannot tell me with certainty that every single member of the bar joined that club with the intent to human traffic everybody. I know too many good ones that with the intent of going to law school and becoming a member of the bar to practice law was because they wanted to do good and they wanted to defend people's rights. They wanted to ensure justice. But once they got in there, they find out real quick when they start doing that, oh, no, you can't do that. If you do that, we'll disbar you. Right? I agree 100% over here. Just like medical doctors are completely clueless regarding health. Yeah. And how is it medicine? It's pharmaceutical drugs. Medicine is natural. Every last bit of pharmaceutical drugs is what? Fake. It's all synthetic. Why? Because they can't patent nature. Huh. Think about that for as long as you need. You cannot patent nature. Nope. Because it pre-exists outside of man. How would you claim a patent on something you didn't create or we didn't create? Completely illogical, isn't it? Think about that. Right? Yeah. Petroleum-based synthetic. Yep. It's all petroleum. Yep. Absolutely. Right, Karen? Here on YouTube, hear words changing. Even attorneys I listen to have snuck in quality verbiage, i.e. servants, people, duty. It's coming around, okay? But we're the ones that needs to learn. Well, I mean, we all need to learn. Question over here on YouTube, Renita. Is an online petition lawful? Questionable in its concept, which is why they can remove it. No, it's not an online petition. It's signatures. But that's a real petition drafted by me. That's a real notary and signature on there. And in this day and age, yes, we can collect digital signatures. We're into the digital age now. And then I believe there's going to be a way that I will download all of those and print that off with the petition. Then the petition will actually be mailed to Congress. Goes to the clerk. Just like in the judicial, you have a clerk of the court. Gee, in Congress, that would be the clerk of the court of justice. That's really the court of justice is supposed to be at. Courts of law are in the judicial. Courts of justice are in the legislative branch. So we don't even know which court is which. It's like impeachment court. The sole power of impeachment is in the House. The sole power to trial impeachments is in the Senate. And when it's an impeachment for the president or for the governor, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court presides over... Huh? Does that make sense? Why it's a court? Court of what? Okay, so what is this third absolute right here? Inherent in every Englishman, so man, is that of property. Oh, this one's going to be good, folks. Which consists in the free use, enjoyment, and disposal of all his acquisitions without any control or diminution, save only by the what? Again, laws of the land. The origin of private property is probably founded in nature, as will be more fully explained in the second book of the ensuing commentaries. Okay, so there's your teaser for next week on the right of absolute right of property, which is what I've said so many times. So when we're talking about out here on the streets and highways, it's a combination of the two rights of personal liberty and property. The free use, the right to acquire, possess, and utilize our personal property as we see fit. Where in the supreme law of the land or the law of the land did we delegate them the authority over our personal property, over any of these absolute rights? We didn't. We exempted that from them. Oh, you sovereign citizen, you. No. Sovereign man. Public servants, you're the citizens. You'll have to clarify over here on Telegram, Stephen. Are you talking about the military accountability petition? I was earlier, but I'm also talking about my own petition and future petitions, which, again, want to reiterate that the case that I just went through, playing the long game here, and I'm going to take this down for everybody because this is all bills of attainder, bills of pains and penalties. It's the Roman civil law, the code, right? I've already done the kind of put them on notice that I'm doing a constitutionality challenge to the Idaho Code, the Code of Civil Procedure Act of 1881. I'm also doing a constitutionality challenge to the entire Idaho Constitution because I found in the 8th legislative session that none of the laws or statutes or anything was ever submitted to Congress for approval or denial, pursuant to Article 4, Section 3 and Article 4, Section 4. Well, wait a minute. That means none of what's in Idaho is legitimate. None of it. There was no oversight. There was no approval following the law of the land or supreme law of the land to come into existence. Imagine that. My foot counts as personal property? No, that's the right of life. That's the right of personal security, your limbs. Property is tangible things like your automobile, your bicycle, right? Flashlight, whatever. But in this instance, I really want to reference the automobile thing because we don't need to seek permission. That's a license. Seeking permission to do a thing that would otherwise be illegal. Okay? So, coupled with the right to acquire, possess, and utilize our personal property how we see fit. Right? Free use and enjoyment and disposal of all his acquisitions acquired. So this is in the tangible. Plain and simple. No ducks. But bucks and chickens. Oh, ducks and chickens. Right? Yeah, that's property. Absolutely. I mean, what would be the evil behind telling people they can't have chickens or ducks within city limits? That would make absolutely no sense because, I mean, that's food. We have the right to grow food. Oh, but that might be a nuisance. Nah, nice try. But which one stands on a higher plane? My right to what? Grow food? Or your right to be free from me growing food? The way that works is if I decide to have chickens and you're my neighbor and you don't like the sounds of my chickens, you're free to move. But you're not free to deprive me of my right to have chickens. Unless it somehow causes damage to your property, now you have a standing for a cause of action to have me fix whatever the damages are, but you still can't deprive me of my chickens. No matter how hard you think and feel. See, this is where we're at in society today, is about feelings. Well, I feel you shouldn't have chickens. Well, I could care less how you feel. Mind your own damn business. If you don't like it, move. You have every right to move. But you can't force me to do anything. You can't exile me from my own land. Kick rocks, jackwagon. Unless you can point to that emolument and grunt from the law of the land, you're shit out of luck, dude. Sorry. Yes, that's... Okay, here's a good one. Thank you, Eager Beaver. People shitting in the streets is a nuisance. Absolutely. Anybody disagree with that one? But see, there you go. Does that not cause not only a nuisance, but it is a nuisance when you look at it in the extent, but it's a medical concern, right? A health, general welfare. Yep. That affects everybody. Anybody who walks down that street with urine and feces in the general public area, yeah, we need to take care of that. Oh, jeez. I don't know about that one, but people's dryer sheets smell worse than chicken shit. I know, right, brother? Imagine the smell of San Francisco. Yeah. Well, you know they did clean that up there for that ambassador that came in town. They did a little cleanup. Yeah. What? Oh. So yeah, some of this that I'm seeing in here, they're citing the Magna Carta. Blackstone citing Magna Carta. Upon this principle, the Great Charter has declared that no free man shall be diseased, divested of his freehold, or of his liberties, or free customs, liberties, but by the judgment of his peers, or by the law of the land. How many times has this got to be said, folks? And remember, law of the land is synonymous with due process of law. So when we say due process of law, you got to go to the law of the land and look for that process that is due. Or the common law of the land. We really need to learn that from the law of the land. But then what does he do? And by any variety of ancient statutes, it is enacted that no man's lands or goods shall be seized into the king's hands against the Great Charter and the law of the land. And that no man shall be disinherited nor put out of his franchises or freehold, franchises, business, persons, unless he be duly brought to answer and be forejudged by course of law. And if anything be done to the contrary, it shall be redressed and holden for none. Redress of grievances. But, again, they're talking statutes prior to the Magna Carta. The Magna Carta just wiped all this crap. Seriously. Forever. We are to be free and have these certain inherent rights. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The right to acquire and possess property, whether real or personal. Oh, jeez. I haven't seen that. Ever seen the San Francisco poop map app? The whole city is basically brown. Oh. Wow. So yeah, there's your glimpse at next week, which pretty much just already went through that because he's going to talk about it more in the second book. And I don't know what's the next absolute rights. I see some good stuff in here still. So yeah, we'll be picking that up next week. The right of property. Yeah, there's some good stuff here he's talking about here. Oh, okay. So it's just three primary basic absolute rights. It is therefore established certain other auxiliary subordinate rights of the subject, which serve principally as outworks or barriers to protect and maintain inviolate the three great and primary rights of personal security, personal liberty, and private property. These are the Constitution, powers and privileges of Parliament, of which I shall treat at large in the ensuing chapter. So, in the next chapter, the limitation of the king's prerogative by bounds so certain and notorious that it is impossible he should either mistake or legally exceed them without the consent of the people. And that's regarding the king. Of this also shall treat in its proper place. The former of these keeps the legislative power in due health and vigor, so as to make it improbable that laws should be enacted destructive of general liberty. The latter is a guard upon the executive power by restraining it from acting either beyond or in contradiction to the laws that are framed and established by the other. So see, again, ignorance of the law is no excuse. To know a thing and to be bound to know it, or regarding the law as equivalent. This is why we have three distinct branches of government, to provide better protections from usurpation of power, from tyranny, from despotism. So say a sheriff, right? The legislature created this. Well, the sheriff should go, well, the law of the land, or supreme law of the land, which I'm actually bound to support, says this, and what you created says this. Which one stands on a higher plane? Which one am I bound to obey? That's right. The law of the land is, and our rights is what he is bound to obey and uphold and support and defend. Not enactments of the legislature. So, that's the beauty of our Republican form of government. Because that's restraining it from acting either beyond or in contradiction to the laws that are framed and established by the other, by the people. 3. A third subordinate right of every Englishman is that of applying to the courts of justice for redress of injuries. Gee, is that right to petition the legislature? I mean, the court of justice? Unless we're actually talking about our common law courts, which in my mind could actually be that based on what's written right here. Since the law is in England the supreme arbiter of every man's life, liberty, and property, courts of justice must at all times be open to the subject, and the law be duly administered therein. The emphatical words of Magna Carta, spoken in the person of the king, who in judgment of law, says Sir Edward Coke, is ever present and repeating them in all his courts, are these: nulla amendus, nulla, well, no. And therefore every subject, continues the same learned author, for the injury done to him in bonus and terris vel persona by any other subject, be he ecclesiastical or temporal, without any exception, may take his remedy by the course of the law, and have justice and right for the injury done to him, freely without sale, fully without denial, and speedily without delay. Well, maybe the court of justice is the common law courts. Huh. But it does talk about redress. So redress of grievances. Are we just talking about redress of injuries? So there's a difference there. Again, there's the difference in words. Is it a redress of injuries or is it a redress of grievances? So the way I'm reading this right here, it's a redress of injuries. Courts of justice essentially should be the common law courts. And again, according to the law of the land, common law of the land, for it depends not upon the arbitrary will of any judge, but is permanent, fixed, and unchangeable, unless by authority of Parliament. I shall however just mention a few negative statutes, whereby abuses, perversions, or delays of justice, especially by the prerogative, are restrained. It is ordained by Magna Carta that no free man shall be outlawed, that is, put out of the protection and benefit of the laws, but according to the law of the land. See, a lot of people think outlaws means bad guys. It just means people out in the woods and the forests, and, we see in some of the Western, he's an outlaw, he's an outlaw. He lives out on the land. He defends himself at all times. And he don't care about any of your city ordinances. He doesn't care about any of your statutes. He don't care about any of that. Now, of course, when you commit murder or you steal, that kind of stuff, but that's fundamental. Man, what's this? By 2nd Edward III, chapter 8 and 11, it is enacted that no commands or letters shall be sent under the Great Seal or the Little Seal, the Signet or Privy Seal, in disturbance of the law. Or to disturb or delay common right. And though such commandments should come, the judges shall not cease to do right, which is also made a part of their oath by statute. Yeah. We put that in Article 6, Clause 3. That every member of the legislative, executive, judicial branch, both state and federal, shall, that is mandatory, be bound to support the Constitution. Not interpret it, but support it. Again, how is the servants have the authority to interpret the laws of their own creation? When government was instituted to secure these rights, how is it they have the power to interpret that? How would they have the power to interpret the laws of their own creation? Whether legislative, executive, or judicial. It's completely illogical. Make absolutely no sense. You might as well not even have the Constitution then. You might as well not have any rights enumerated, let alone unenumerated. If they just can interpret the law however they want to interpret it. That they can just make any legislation that they want, and that's the law. You sovereign citizen, you think that none of the law applies to you. Sovereign citizen. Mike an ass. But see, there again, folks, that's the difference between me and the dipshit jackwagons out there that push that sovereign citizen crap. They don't even know what the hell they're talking about. Well, generally speaking, in a way they do. They're just so ill-informed, misinformed. You want to talk about misinformation out there? Blows my mind. Well, the sheriff uh, should be defending the people in his county right from the get go, like what I was just talking about. You know, they're bound by the Constitution, and what was just read right there in Blackstone's. You know, they're supposed to know what's lawful and what's not, and if it's unlawful, they are to refuse to enforce it, to execute that. Yeah, I know. Hey, James. He says, James out here on YouTube says, in law, outlaw, recipe for confusion. Well, let me add one more. At law. In law. Incorporated into the body politic. You're in law. You have a business license. You have an oath, pursuant to Article 6, Clause 3. Now you're in law. At law is in the private, which are the inhabitants and the people, are in the private. We live at the common law, the laws of nature. Okay? And then outlaw is like a free-range chicken. Okay? They're outside of city limits. That's outlaw. Even in the Magna Carta talks about the people of the forest. That none of the king's local law applies to those in the forest because they're outside of that law. So hopefully that clarifies in-law, at-law, and outlaw. See, that's the thing. Article 3, Section 2 says suits in law. Article 7th of the Bill of Rights says suits at common law. Two different jurisdictions. And Article 3, Section 2 for suits in law and equity involving land, having an equitable interest in the land. Because if you read all of Article 3, Section 2, that's what it says. Land disputes is that equitable interest. It suits in law. Under what jurisdiction? Admiralty and Maritime. So that's a suit in law. Uh-oh. This is why we have to fully comprehend, understand, gain this knowledge. Suits in law is under Admiralty and Maritime. Suits at law are suits between man and man, including public servants who cause injury, loss, or harm to the people. And suits at common law can be what? Criminal in nature or civil in nature. Suits at common law is not just civil. They want us to believe that to strip us of that right, that power, the common law courts that are ran by the people. Okay? You're welcome, Leslie. That's, the Fifth Amendment requires to demand the nature and cause of action. What do you mean nature and cause? Nature, in nature. Is it criminal in nature, in the wild? Meaning mens rea, that the mind was guilty, that it was premeditated, that there was a motive behind it. That's criminal in nature, which requires the unanimous consent of all 12 jurors. Now, if it's civil in nature, that means it was done by accident. They didn't actually mean to do it. There was no forethought. That's civil in nature. So now do you understand suits at common law can be criminal in nature or civil in nature? And why do we have the right in the Fifth Amendment that's enumerated there? Do we have the right to demand the nature and the cause of action? There's two criminal jurisdictions here. For suits in law, those that are in the military, those that are in a corporation that's actively engaged in what? Commerce, trade, that have a business license. They're incorporated. And just like Blackstone said there, not only can you do the in law, but you can do the at law to recover any injuries to the man himself. Suits between man and man, suits between the people and corporations is in law. Suits between man and man are at law. All right. Well, I think I'm going to go ahead and call it a night tonight, folks. Have a wonderful night. And want to remind people over there for Thursday night on the National Assembly call. Wednesday night for Wednesday night workshop. Now, I've started basically the beginning of my current case that's about to come to an end. And I'm going through each step, one by one. So each Wednesday night workshop is going to cover just one document, one part of the steps that I've taken following due process of law here. And I'm going to explain it all. So if you want to get in on this education and learning, and get a little more in-depth conversation about it, which I don't really talk much about out here because, one, it's an ongoing case. So that's part of the reason. Number two, you don't want to really show your cards. You don't show your hand to your enemies. That's a walk softly and carry a big stick. That's how that works. So, again, that's Wednesday night workshop through my Patreon. Go to my website, kirkslawcorner.com. And click on the P there for Patreon and get signed up on Tier 3 for that. If you'd like to help support, you can do Tier 1, Tier 2, basically $5 or $10 a month to help general support. Buy me a cup of coffee or whatever, although I drink 1 cup of coffee every morning. So other than that, but it's the same, right? It's the same as buying a cup of coffee per month. Otherwise, you can send over here at the office any kind of donations you'd like to make, which goes to support this right here, what I do for free on Monday nights, and anything else I come out and do. And then the other thing is the free educational series out there on my YouTube channel. Okay? All this stuff I do for free. So yeah, any postal money orders, regular money orders, cashier checks, any gold or silver coinage you want to donate over there, any law books, good ones, send them over there to the new office there, if you would, please. And thank you for those that have made recent donations over there and joined my Patreon. There's the P right here. So there's Facebook page, there's Telegram channel, there's the Patreon, here's the YouTube channel, here's Rumble channel, and now Twitter or X. We're all of these I go live on right now. I'm live on Facebook, Telegram, on YouTube, Rumble, and X. So pick your favorite one and watch from there. Afterwards, what I do is for Telegram, what I do on that one is I go and grab the Rumble video after Rumble does its thing. It compiles and whatever it does. It even shows on my screen that it's compiling it. When it's done with that, if I remember, I'll post it over on my Telegram channel. Okay? And just so you're aware over there, Fix It Fast, new office space, moved directly upstairs. I'm in Suite G, as in golf. No longer in Suite C, Charlie. Still goes to the same building, it doesn't matter. Just to be precise, though, you know. All right. So, other than that, God bless America. God bless everybody worldwide. And all you prayer warriors out there, please pray for our U.S. Marshals, military service members, and everything that's going on out there. Underground tunnel stuff, all sorts of crazy stuff still going on, folks. So pray for the people that are the good people that are taking this stuff down, actively engaged in taking down corruption worldwide. Those involved in serious human rights abuse and corruption. Okay? God bless. Have a wonderful night, folks. Thank you all for being here. We'll catch you next week, unless you're on